Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello. You said that like this is doubtful.
Hello.
We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. We talk about creepy things in history, and sometimes we just talk about something that's just creepy overall. This one is murder-free, from what I can tell. There's no...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. No, it is. It is. Maybe it's killed a career or two, but it's fine.
Every week, and this is your first time listening to the show, one of us comes up with a creep and the other one is tasked to come up with something or someone that is not a creep. That way you go way about the world not feeling like it's all a big garbage of fire. We do have a basic Facebook page, but that's where people go to complain about our language, our voices. We do have a private Facebook group where we are much more interactive. If you want to join that, that's great, but you do have to answer a few questions before you join in. We are on Twitter at CreepPod for now, as long as Twitter exists. Did you hear that they had a sale over the weekend?
Mm-hmm. They were selling like furniture and like whiteboards, and
So
I was like, that shit's all cursed. No thanks.
Yeah, no shit. We're on Instagram, What a Creep Podcast. Please follow us there. And we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Send us your suggestions for creeps and non-creeps. And if you would like some stickers, send us your address wherever you are in the world. We will send you some stickers. And Sonia, will you please tell them about the website?
Yes, you can go to whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever wanted to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. It has links to all of our past episodes, and in those episode summaries are also our show notes where we list all of our sources. We don't make anything up here. We want to give credit where credit is due. So please check it out. You can also do that like right through your app, wherever you're listening to your podcast from. You can just like swipe right or left, and then we're dating, and then you can like see our show notes. There's also a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and face masks and tote bags and all kinds of awesome things. Margot, you want to tell them about our Patreon?
Yes, I do. So it's Patreon. We put bonus content there. It's a way if you want to monetarily support us. Did I say that correctly? If you want to throw us a few bucks a month, that would be amazing. I want to thank Andy, Kim, Samantha, Barber for all of you for supporting us and for joining us at Patreon. We have our first few seasons there on the Patreon wall. We put out 2 bonus episodes a month, and then Sonia puts out a really rad newsletter.
Oh, thank you.
And it helps us, like Sonia said, with the costs for like the news organizations that we subscribe to, the hosting cost, the cost for the software, that kind of stuff. So thank you so very much. But we understand if money is tight, we totally get that. If you could just leave us a review wherever you get your podcast, or leave stars or whatever it is that you use. If you have any issues, by the way, supposedly people are having issues with the show coming up at the end. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm sorry. I think on the Facebook page, the whole episode is there if you're dying to know what the last 2 minutes sound like.
Okay.
If you leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, we will mention you on the air. And I'm sorry I interrupted you, Sonia. Did you say something, or did you have something?
Oh, I was just going to say, if you're listening to the last 2 minutes, thanks.
I know. You know what? Yeah. And it's for all my shows. And for some reason that's happening. And it really makes me feel good because I'm like, oh, good. That's nice that you're sticking around, because a lot of people are just like, nah, I hear the credits. No.
Yeah. Bye.
Well, let's just get into today's show. Sonia, what are we talking about for What a Creep this week?
We are going to be talking about the Golden Globes and the Hollywood Foreign Press. This one should be relatively fun. Sources for this episode include Entertainment Weekly, GQ, Hollywood Reporter, The Los Angeles Times, NBC News, Newsweek, Teen Vogue, Vox, and Wikipedia. Always our friends from Wikipedia. So here's the deal. I used to love the Golden Globes. I'm a movie lover. I'm a TV lover. I enjoy watching entertainers win awards. They all look gorgeous. The Golden Globes in particular had an open bar. So sometimes people would like say stupid things. It's super fun to watch. I get it.
Yeah.
But I remember at some point thinking, who the fuck are the Hollywood Foreign Press? Like, who are these people? And then like a couple years ago, the shit kind of hit the fan with the Hollywood Foreign Press. A bunch of Hollywood people said like, we're boycotting. And even like Tom Cruise like sent back his awards. And last year, the Golden Globes weren't a thing. But Hollywood has a short-term, memory. And last week, the Golden Globes were back on TV and all kinds of people were there and showed up and got their awards and people were actually watching. So I was like, what's up with that? So let's talk about it. This episode's a little different than how I normally do it. What are the Golden Globes?
Please.
They are awards for movie. First, let me ask you this. Do you watch the Golden Globes?
No. I have a hard time with the award show. Sorry.
You're the opposite of me.
I know.
love this. I love this stuff.
I know. I used to. I had like a thing for it. I mean, I have to say, like Joan Rivers helped make it more exciting when she started talking. Like, wasn't she on like the TV Guide channel for a while? Like reporting from it. I remember as a kid, it was on TNT or TBS, and it was a Dick Clark production. I want to say
yes.
And I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand. I just know that there's an award season.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I started working, I started, when I moved to New York, I worked on some independent films and independent publicity, and how award season for movie directors and producers and writers and actors and everybody in the business is a big goddamn deal. And every year there seems to be another award and another, one that's televised that everyone seems to care about. It's still the Oscars, the Academy Awards are still like the big standard.
That's my favorite still.
Yeah. I always watch the beginning, if nothing else. I mean, I usually peter out on that one after a while. But the Golden Globes always seem like a big mishmash. It's fun to watch celebrities get drunk and
yes,
because they really show the real reactions.
Yeah, and what's fun about the Golden Globes? First of all, like again, the open bar. So there is like it's a little looser. It's a little bit more messy than say the Oscars. They include TV, so it's a lot of different kinds of stars are there. They divide the movies up by drama and comedy musical. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different kinds of movies nominated. I'm going to talk about some weird nominations they've had over the year. That makes it fun to watch, but it is this weird thing because the Hollywood Foreign Press is this like weird entity that a lot of people didn't know about really until a couple years ago, where people started paying attention to who these people actually were. It was like, we're going to get into it. So for those who don't know, the Golden Globes, they're on the TV every year for movie and TV, and they're voted on by the Hollywood Foreign Press. The Hollywood Foreign Press, it's a collection of journalists and photographers that cover Hollywood in foreign media markets.
And photographers, did you say? Like
yes.
The paparazzi?
Yes.
Those assholes?
Yes.
Oh
so this was launched in 1943, and that's when like 23 like foreign entertainment reporters got together to like form this group so that they could get a little bit more traction with studios, so that they could get a little bit more access to like stars and writers and directors and stuff, so they could write their stories for their newspapers, their magazines in other countries.
Got it.
And then the group debuted as the Golden Globes the following year, and they had like a special luncheon like on the Fox movie lot, and they gave out their awards, and eventually they expanded it to television, and then it started airing on TV in 1958.
Oh my goodness.
And with that, it brought a lot of clout because, let's be honest, people in Hollywood love to win awards.
They love to congratulate one another, especially themselves. Yes.
Yes. So it became a thing. Now the Hollywood Foreign Press has 105 members. 2 years ago, they only had 84 members. And of those 84 members, there were no Black members at all. Some of their controversy comes from that. So for comparison, I looked it up. The Hollywood Foreign Press now has 105 people. The Academy Awards have 9,000 people. The Emmys have 20,000 people.
Oh my God.
And the BAFTAs have 6,000 people. Now, at some point, movie studios started acting like the Hollywood Foreign Press had some sort of sway on the Oscar nominations. They don't. They have this idea that like Academy voters watch the Golden Globes and then they decide who to nominate when they see who wins Golden Globes. They don't. And the Golden Globes aren't a predictor of who's going to win at the Oscars, which a lot of people, including myself, used to think like, well, if they won the Golden Globes, there's a really good chance they're going to be nominated for an Oscar and they might even win. And the truth is, they're not very accurate predictors of that sort of thing. By the way, if you're looking for predictors, look at like Screen Actors Guild, Writers Guild, Directors Guild. That's who's going to tell you who's going to win.
Got it.
Take it from me, a person who actually fills out a ballot every year and scores it because I'm a fucking nerd. So the Hollywood Foreign Press, they don't vote in the Oscars. They have no say in the Oscars, but at some point it turned into a thing that they somehow have say. And so movie studios start putting a lot of money into marketing their movies to get Golden Globe recognition. And in a way, it's not going to get them Oscars, but it is like promotion for their movies. Like,
yeah,
there are people who just watch they watch award shows and maybe they've never heard of these movies until they hear them being talked about at the Golden Globes. That's very possible. So I don't want to shit on it entirely. So the truth is, the Hollywood Foreign Press kind of has this reputation for making really questionable choices when it comes to picking their nominees and winners. And I made like a fun little list for us. So the first one, the one that like was a big deal and maybe people don't talk about anymore, but in 1982, Piazzadora.
Yes, the lonely man. Lonely woman?
Yes.
Lonely chick?
No, she won for New Star of the Year in a motion picture for a movie called Butterfly.
Right. Okay.
People fucking hated this movie. Like, it was critically like lambasted everywhere. No one liked it. It would be like giving Madonna an award for fucking Shanghai Surprise or something. It's like not a thing. You know, and by the way, she won over people, Kathleen Turner, for Body Heat. It's like ridiculous. Like, come on. But it turned out that just weeks before the Hollywood Foreign Press started their voting, Piazzadora's husband, who was a producer of this movie, flew a bunch of the members to Vegas, put them up in his casino, wined and dined them. And then she wins.
Right. It was a big scandal at the time.
It was a big scandal at the time. And it raised some serious red flags. And CBS was like actually airing the Golden Globes then. And they were like, you know what? Peace out, Golden Globes. And they dropped the Golden Globes because of it. You're sketchy. We're not doing this. But NBC's like, we got you.
Yeah,
So
that was
NBC
Dick Clark Productions.
Yes, exactly. So NBC's like, we got it. So they picked them up. And that just kind of went away. But it was always there. Like, people kind of knew, like, if you play your game, you could get nominated for a Golden Globe. So here's a few other ones that I just think are funny. So Patch Adams.
Oh, God, that movie.
Nominated for Best Musical Comedy. Also, Robin Williams nominated for Best Actor in a musical comedy. Nobody liked that movie.
No, it's terrible.
Nobody. No.
Sarah
It
and
is
Vinny
100
from Alice and Radio, they talk about it to this day because they were in a background or something like that. But they're the only ones from what I could tell. It's not a good movie. And Robin Williams was not proud of it.
No, and they just made fun of this movie in the movie The Menu, if you've seen it, like where they talk about calling Dr. Sunshine. They're talking about Patch Adams. Very bad movie. Anyway, more recently in 2007, they nominated this movie for Best Picture Drama, which is one of the coveted, quote unquote, serious awards of the Golden Globes. And it was this movie called Bobby. Do you remember Bobby?
Is that the one about Bobby Kennedy, the assassination of RFK?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh God, that's a terrible movie.
I can't believe you even remembered it, because when I saw this, I was like, what the fuck? What's Bobby? It's an Emilio Estevez directed movie about the assassination of Robert Kennedy in 1968, and it's got like a star-studded cast. this is why it was nominated. It's got Demi Moore, Anthony Hopkins, Helen Hunt, Ashton Kutcher, Lindsay Lohan. Nobody liked this movie.
No, but it was like those Gary, what's his face movies where it was like Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve.
Gary Marshall movies.
Gary Marshall,
yeah,
sorry, and I like Gary Marshall, but yeah.
Yeah. The Golden Globes, again, they just want to take pictures with movie stars. And so they will nominate a movie like this because, first of all, Emilio Estevez probably worked it, right? He probably showed up to like special luncheons, poses for pictures.
Sure.
And then you nominate this movie and all these stars are going to come.
You also tell people it's about one of the Kennedys, and I'm sure the foreign press people are like, "Oh, well, that's going to be really popular." So
exactly,
not knowing that we're all kind of full on the Kennedy story. I'm sorry, but you know,
yes. So there's a few more here. A couple of years ago, so 2011, the Golden Globes nominated Burlesque for Best Picture with Cher and Christina Aguilera. By the way, another one that, you know, didn't really do very well. I would say it has a small fan base. They, again, had all been wooed with like trips to Vegas. They got a private concert, you know, things like that. And then the movie gets nominated. In 2011, The Tourist was nominated for Best Comedy. The Tourist is with Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie. Nobody saw that movie. It's garbage.
And it's not a comedy.
And it's not a comedy.
Jesus Christ.
Also, just a few years ago in 2018, Get Out was nominated for comedy. Is like not a comedy.
They should get a horror category.
Maybe they should, because
yeah.
It doesn't belong in comedy, that's for sure. And then 2019, they nominated Green Book for comedy.
Yeah.
And Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a musical, for drama. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And then notoriously, like, they don't nominate female directors. That's pretty well known. Just in 2021, they nominated James Corden for like supporting role in The Prom.
I never even heard of that.
Exactly. And fucking James Corden, really?
Right. Well, he'll be an episode one day. Yeah.
What I'm trying to tell you is the Hollywood Foreign Press, they nominate movies and actors that they want to meet, or they are rewarding productions for like special gifts and trips and perks they receive. Its members, very few of them actually work full time for major overseas media outlets, but they are routinely given this very exclusive access to like Hollywood power players. They get to go to junkets. They are sent on very exotic trips. They are put up in fancy hotels. And then as nominating season starts, they start getting gifts and dinners and parties, and they get to meet all the movie stars, and then your movie gets nominated.
Right. And then you're always going to be the Golden Globes winner of blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. So in 1999, it came out that as part of a campaign to get Sharon Stone nominated for the Muse, a movie, again, that is... It's fine.
It's fine, but it could have been better.
Yeah, they gave everyone watches, like Coach watches, that are valued at like $400 a piece. She was nominated. She did not win, but it was a big deal. They were later forced to like give the watches back and all this stuff. It was so...
Wow.
Actors, like, they know this. They all know it. It's like and every once in a while, like somebody says something like Ricky Gervais, who sucks. I don't like Ricky Gervais. I think he's a garbage person, but like they had him host the Golden Globes for a couple years in a row. And he, while hosting, called the awards worthless. He said, it's a bit of metal that some nice old confused journalist wanted to give you in person so they could meet you and have a selfie with you.
Yeah, and celebrities don't like to be called in their bullshit.
No. And then in 2014, actor Gary Oldman was shitting all over the Golden Globes. He was like, it's just 90 nobodies having a wank. That's what he called it. And said that people should be boycotting, and it's
Sorry,
just
say that
silly
again.
game.
90 nobodies what?
Having a wank. They're just jerking off. Basically.
Sorry, you blanked out for a second there. And then you're saying having a wank in that space. I didn't know.
So yeah,
I
and he
love
called it
Brits.
he called it a silly game and all that. And I was like, oh, good for you, Gary Oldman. And then it's like cut to 4 years later, Gary Oldman's on stage accepting his Golden Globe for The Darkest Hour, and he's like thanking the Hollywood press.
Yeah.
I'm like, they love awards. So in 2019, about 30 of the Hollywood Foreign Press members were flown to France to visit the set of Emily in Paris.
Wow,
Have
really?
you watched? Have you watched Emily in Paris?
No, and I like Paris and I like the actress, but I don't know why I haven't dove in yet. Have you?
No, because the previews look annoying to me. It looks like a show for younger people. It might be a Sex in the City type thing, where it's like when I was younger, I super loved the show Sex in the City, but now I watch it and I'm like, whatever. I suspect Emily in Paris is like that, but that's fine. Like my sister likes Emily in Paris. She thinks it's super fun. And I'm like, okay. So they flew them all to Paris. They put them up in like a 5-star hotel, gave them like an exclusive news conference. They had like a fancy lunch. They got a private museum tour. They got access to the stars. And then they get nominated for like best television show, comedy or musical. And I believe the lead actress was nominated too. This show was not a critical fave. And I'm not saying like everything has to be like, ooh, super serious and critics have to fucking love it and blah, blah, blah. But it's not one of the best shows on TV.
There's no prestige behind it.
Even one of the show's own writers, her name is Deborah Kopkin, and she wrote an op-ed. Why are we nominated? Like, she's a writer for the show.
Jesus, woman.
And she says it's a show about a white American and it's selling like luxury whiteness. And then there's the show called I May Destroy You.
She's
a black woman in British, in Britain, right? And it's about rape and trauma and race and class and all this other stuff. Why is that not nominated?
Right.
But Emily in Paris is not.
Right.
Yeah.
I get you. Right. It's not prestige. It's not special. It's not like exceptional writing or something, which it should be something exceptional. Right. It should honor that effort. Right.
Yeah. So, along with bribery, and then we have this kind of, for lack of a better term, star fucking, I guess, they've created, the Hollywood Foreign Press has also created this system of kickbacks and internal payments that they pay like their members. By the way, they claim to be a nonprofit, what? FYI. I'm starting to think like we could start a spin-off show that is just called That's Not a Nonprofit. Because they are claiming they are a nonprofit.
Holy shit.
They'll pay people on their committee. Well, they serve on a committee, or they pay them for watching foreign movies, or, sometimes thousands of dollars a month. Nice gig. I would like that gig. Can I be a member of the
Yeah, seriously. I'll watch Emily in Paris if that's
seriously.
If you get those kind of perks, sure.
Yeah. So the LA Times did this really big investigation, and I took a lot of this from them, and it's linked in the show notes. They found that the Hollywood Foreign Press on the regular gave payments to its own members that would be a red flag for the IRS, for the Internal Revenue Service here in the United States. They collected nearly $2 million in payments from the group in 2020. In 2011, one of their longtime publicists actually filed a lawsuit claiming that the members were accepting money, vacation gifts, all these perks and stuff like that. And then the Hollywood Foreign Press countersued him, but eventually they settled in 2013, and nobody's talking about what the settlement was. In just 2021, a Norwegian journalist filed an antitrust lawsuit against the Hollywood Foreign Press, and she also was like, it's super corrupt. They claim to be tax exempt, compared them to a cartel. I was all, damn. And she says they block other members of press from getting stories, so just their organization can get it, all this stuff. This lawsuit actually got dismissed because it said that she didn't suffer economic or professional hardship but it didn't deny that they were actually doing what they were doing. They're just saying she didn't suffer because of it. Again, saying that you're nonprofit and then you're like paying all these people.
Right.
Like, and they do some good stuff with the money, but not most of it. They've restored some movies. They've archived old movies, because a lot of those old movies, by the way, they're like on film and they have to be cared for and maintained. And Martin Scorsese's like super into this. These old films, they can just dissolve. They like just
right. The
fall
material,
apart, you know. Yeah, so they, you know, the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences, they also do work like that. So the Hollywood Foreign Press does like some of that, but most of their money is them paying themselves. It's
their overhead.
Yeah, exactly.
That sucks.
Okay, now we're going to get to probably one of the most famous things about the Golden Globes, which is their former president, Philip Burke. He actually wrote a memoir once in 2014, and it was called "With Signs and Wonders, my journey from darkest Africa to the bright lights of Hollywood."
What?
Yeah, he's from South Africa, by the way. Writes this book, paints himself as this person who the Golden Globes would be nothing without me. Like, it's super successful because of me. I'm like, dude, it's been on the TV since the fucking 50s. Fuck off. But anyway, he's like, I'm super great. The Hollywood Foreign Press got pissed at him. He actually had to take a 6-month leave of absence from the group when he wrote his book because everyone was so mad at him. But of course, they take him back. And then in 2018, Brendan Fraser is doing this interview with actor Brendan Fraser, whom we love.
Yes.
Does an interview with GQ, and he, you know, he had been like out of the limelight for a while, and he said Burke sexually assaulted him in 2003. And he says that Burke took his left hand and he reached around and he like grabbed Brendan Fraser's ass and he like slid his hand underneath. And sorry if this upsets people, but he touched his taint and started moving it around. I hate the word taint, so gross. And he started moving it around. And the actor, obviously super upset, made him super uncomfortable. He got super upset. He left. This impacted his career. Like, he said he had really bad anxiety after that he shut down, and that he actually confronted them, you know, the Hollywood Foreign Press, and they were like, no. And he was like kind of, what's the word? Blackballed, you know, out of stonewalled, I guess that's the word, out of things like this. And Burke has repeatedly denied the story. And then he like offered this like kind of like half-hearted apology that accepted like no wrongdoing. And the Hollywood Foreign Press like did their own investigation, quote unquote, I'm gonna put investigation in quotes, and said that it was just a joke. And I was like, how's that fucking funny?
Oh, Jesus.
If a man grabbed my ass, slid his hand under, goosed me, basically, would that be a fucking joke to you?
It would be. I'm
no.
Sure. But I mean, to them, yes.
Yes. Like, not a joke. So they make their statement. They ask Fraser to co-sign on it. And he's like, no. So, because no, why would he? So they didn't get rid of this asshole, by the way, until 2021. This happened in 2003. The story comes out in 2018, and they still didn't get rid of Burke until 2021. And they only got rid of him because he sent out an email to the group calling Black Lives Matter a racist hate movement.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. And then NBC found the email and they were like, get him the fuck out of here. He was expelled that day. And the reason he's expelled that day, because NBC's like, fuck off. We're going to pull the plug and we're not going to air your show anymore. So the minute money became involved,
right,
the Hollywood Foreign Press has the balls to do what they should have been doing all along, which was kick this fucking creep out.
Oh, Jesus.
He sucks. Yeah. So Brendan Fraser was nominated this year for a movie called The Whale. I haven't seen it.
I haven't either.
I hear the movie's rather problematic, not because of him, by the way, just the tone of the movie and things like that. But he was nominated. He didn't go. He told them, I'm not going to go. he didn't win. Colin Farrell won.
Yes. Yeah. Then
Yeah.
Colin Farrell got COVID.
Yeah, and then Colin Farrell is right, because the Golden Globes this year was a COVID super spreader event, by the way. But Brendan Fraser made a very clear statement. He said, I have more history with the Hollywood Foreign Press Association than I have respect for the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. I will not participate. It's because of the history I have with them, and my mother didn't raise a hypocrite. Awesome, Brendan Fraser. Now we have bribery. We have sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
We also have racism. We have the Black Lives Matter, racist hate movement email. And then the LA Times comes out with their story announcing that there's no Black journalists on this 87 members. They're all white. It's so bananas. And then this came out because 2021, they announced their nominees. All these like very notable Black-led projects were not nominated. So it's The Five Bloods, the Spike Lee movie, or Mama Rainey's Black Bottom, or Judas and the Black Messiah, which, by the way, went on to like win an Oscar for Daniel Kaluuya for Best Supporting Actor because he's great. None of those were nominated. And then all these actors come out and they are like, we're boycotting. So it's like Anna Duvernay, I think is how you pronounce it. She's like a writer, director, sometimes actor.
Ava DuVernay?
Ava. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sterling K. Brown. He's from This Is Us.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Ruffalo. And then Tom Cruise. And now say what you will about Tom Cruise, and someday we will.
Yeah, oh, definitely. He's on the short list.
He returned his Golden Globes. He was like, peace out, Golden Globes, and returned them. I was like, put his money where his mouth is. Well, not bad, Tom Cruise. And that's when NBC was like, you know what? We're not going to broadcast. So last year, they did not broadcast the Golden Globes. That's like the first time probably since the 50s that it wasn't on TV. And the Golden Globes promised that they were going to do better. So they increased their membership. They added 21 new members.
That's cool.
Ooh. And then they invited another 103 members just for voting, not officially apparently members of the Hollywood Foreign Press, but they are like non-member voters is what they're calling them. That has really made the whole group more racially diverse. 22% of them are Latina. There's 13% are Black, 11% are Asian, 10% Middle Eastern, and then like 41% are white. So it's still like a lot of white people. But
it's not 100% white people and white people culture being represented.
Exactly.
Right.
So
praised, right.
Yeah. So they're saying they're doing better. It's 52% female now. I was like, that's pretty good. And they instituted a no gifts policy. And then they created like a hotline so that they can all report on each other, which is great. There are some members that are still getting paid from the organization. And the president, her name is Helen Hohen. And she says that that's a stipend for performing certain duties, serving on committees and things like that. That sounds reasonable to me, to be honest. All nonprofit, there is work to be done, and they should probably be paid for their time. I still didn't watch this year, by the way. I'm like, that's great. I'm glad they're doing all this work, but I'm still not watching. I might watch the Critic Choice Awards in the future, but even then, I didn't watch that this year either. And a lot of other stars didn't show up because they all got COVID from the Golden Globes.
Jesus Christ.
You sent me a story about how the host this year is Jared Carmichael.
Mm-hmm.
Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
He went all in, like making some pretty crazy, not crazy. Actually, I don't think these are crazy statements. He said the Golden Globes didn't air last year. He said they didn't have a single Black member until George Floyd died in 2020. Do with that information what you will. He called out the president by name, which apparently she was upset by. And that the president, Helen, was actually having to be consoled by people at the bar in the ballroom. I was like, have a drink, girl. But that's the creepy history of the Golden Globes and the Hollywood Foreign Press.
Good job, Sonia. I get so sick of those award shows. There's just too many.
Yeah.
You know, there's the Independent Spirit Awards, there's the SAG Awards, there's just so many that lead up. So by the time the Academy Awards come around, I'm kind of exhausted by all of it.
Yeah, I have always loved the Oscars ever since I was a little kid. And it's because I super love movies, and everyone there's talking about movies, and and you get to see like clips of lots of movies and all that stuff. So I love that stuff. And I always print out a ballot every year and like fill it out. And I used to watch the Golden Globes, and I used to watch, the SAG Awards and all that. I loved all of that stuff. But the truth is I'm just kind of burned out on it now. So
Yeah.
I really just tend to wait for the Oscars. I tend to read about the winners and then watch the Oscars.
There's like 3 or 4 like award events, right? The awards are given out. And you do that for 4 or 5 decades. It gets to be a little, I mean, you have to just really love it to stick with it that much. And I saw a documentary like 15 years ago, I think, and there was a network called Trio, and it was a pop culture network. And they had I love them because they had a thing called Good Clean Porn. So they took like porn movies from the 70s and took the sex out of it. So it was just like a pizza guy shows up, and then the next scene they're someplace. It was really funny. And they also did the Battle of the Network Stars. They used to replay those. It was all pop culture. It was like a place designed for me. So of course it went out of business.
Yeah.
But they did a very good documentary about the Golden Globes. It was the same thing like you just covered. It was just, they're so fucking corrupt. And at the time, like you couldn't get an interview with anybody that was with the Golden Globes. They wouldn't mention any of their members. It was very secretive, but they did talk about Sharon Stone gifting people. And she's not the only one. There was a lot of people, a lot of actors. They think that's going to be one of their last roles. Like this is to set their career. So I get it. You feel so anxious about that.
Yeah.
But also, it's just like they don't fucking matter, and nobody ever. I don't know. I don't know. Nobody ever like says like, "Well, this was nominated for the Golden Globes." Like,
I guess that's what it is. Where I finally have gotten to a point with the Golden Globes where I was like, why should I care what the Hollywood Foreign Press has decided is the best movie of the year?
Especially when you say it's 100 people. I'm like, well,
yeah. It means nothing to me. Like, honestly, the Critics' Choice Awards makes more sense to me. Yeah. At least.
Or no, the Academy Awards has like the actors nominate actors, directors nominate directors. That makes sense to me. And then everybody votes on it. I get that. That I understand. But the rest of them, I'm just sort of like. And sometimes like the MTV ones try really hard to be entertaining. There's the Nickelodeon one. Oh my God, that thing. The Kids Awards.
There's like the Teen Choice Awards or whatever, like all that stuff. There's so many award shows. And I mean, by the way, the Oscars, they're not perfect either.
Oh, no.
I could 100% do an episode on the Oscars, I'm sure. They have a very problematic history as well. Maybe I'll do that one next year. I just don't care. I just don't care what the Hollywood Foreign Press has to say. Again, a lot of people who won this year is like, that's rad. I'm happy to see everything everywhere all at once. Like, I'm happy to see Michelle Yeoh win things. I'm happy to see Colin Farrell win an award for Banshees of Inisherin. I think he's really great in it. That's awesome. But at the same time, I'm also like, who cares? Who cares what the Hollywood Foreign Press thinks is the best TV show?
One of the things they said, though, in that documentary, it was a while ago, one of the critics said about it says, but, the interesting thing about the Golden Globes is sometimes they have like really interesting choices for winners that would never get nominated for an Emmy or an Oscar. Like they just kind of, so sometimes it is like that wild card, but it's just not enough for me. And nowadays also we see these clips the next day or that night, everyone has these clips all packaged, so I don't have to sit through it.
Well, and I think what you're saying about how they have interesting winners, I think that has to do with that they divide it between comedy and when we're talking about movies anyway, they divide it between comedy and drama, which the Oscars do not do. So the Oscars recently expanded their best pictures to like 10 nominees, but then it's just like 10 more movies, or it's like 10 movies that are all the same. They're all Oscar
Yeah.
bait.
They're
They're
supposed
all
to be
Oscar
more-
bait movies.
It's supposed to be more inclusive, but it's not. It's just more of the
Exactly.
same. Yeah. They
Like
should do a comedy one. They should do
Exactly.
a musical when there's enough musicals. Yeah.
I wish they would. That would be awesome. And then, there's also this thing where everyone bitches about how long the Oscars are. And so they want to like cut out certain categories. And I'm like, fuck you. People who watch the Oscars really love movies and they want to watch all of this stuff. They are trying to attract an audience that they are never going to attract.
Bitching about the audience size, like my whole life, you
Yeah.
hear about, oh, this is less than
Yes.
last year. I mean, they're always complaining about that. It's just, whatever.
Exactly. They alienate people who love movies because they shit all over movies.
Right.
It's ridiculous. I'm like, if they go all in on like movies are awesome and we're celebrating all kinds of movies here, not just Green Book or whatever,
Yeah,
movies
they
like that
still
that are
do
like
that.
that are like made to win awards, then they would attract more. Yeah, give us a comedy category. Give us a horror category.
I think that would be
Give us-
amazing.
Yeah. They've added animation.
Which was needed for like 20 plus years at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why not add a comedy category? And it'll add to the fun. But it's like more people than you have to nominate, and it's other segments you have to put on the show that's already like 3.5 hours.
Well, there's plenty of shit they could cut, which they're like, we're cutting some of the categories because the shows are too long. And then they'll do a fucking segment. Let's feed people in the audience. I'm like, fuck off.
God.
Like,
skits. They hate
like
the skits.
who cares? Nobody wants that stuff. Nobody wants it.
There's very few people at home that enjoy that. I mean, most people especially the stars in the audience, they're exhausted by this point. They're starving.
They're starving.
Right. They starve themselves to fit into their outfits. They just want to go home. They just want this all over with. Sometimes it's, we're going to do every song that's nominated. And I get it. People are proud of their songs, but let's be clear. I'm lucky if I know one of them. You never hear from them again. They're just a song included on a soundtrack. There's a lot of that shit that I'm just like, ugh. Costumes. I want to see costumes.
Yes. I'm like, opening monologue. Maybe they could do the songs. If they're going to do costumes, I'm like, could we see the costumes? That would be amazing.
And do that
like,
with
I would
the
love to
songs?
see that.
Like
or
have
something.
Something.
Like,
it's yeah.
like,
it'll never be fixed.
We fixed it. Call us Academy. We got it.
But but they get millions and millions of eyeballs all around the world, and they sell a lot of ads for it. So I get they're never going to get rid of it. But I don't know. People, even when they try to make it sparklier and funner and more, move it along, then people shit all over that. They're like, well, I didn't get any time to really enjoy it. So
they're not going to please anybody on this. They should really go all in on pleasing people who love movies and want to celebrate that, and like these fucking comedy routines in the middle. I just don't. It's
Jimmy
stupid.
Kimmel taking the people across the street at the movie theater into the audience.
Stupid. It's the worst. I hate it.
I don't understand that one. That one, I'm like, I just can't understand why that gets through the writer's room. I mean, like somebody must say we need like 20 minutes to do something. So let's do this instead. But and I'm sorry, the montages really get old.
Well, it's the same movies over and over too.
Yeah. It's like, Cary Grant running through the cornfield, almost gets hit by the plane. Whoops. Like, Norman Bates in the shower.
Yes, we got
it. Running, excuse me, Forrest Gump rumping. I would see that. But just but it's just like you said, like it's the same over and over again. And it's just blowing up the Death Star. I just like, okay, we got it. We're all here because we love movies. Like,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's not like you watch the Super Bowl and like all of a sudden you're seeing all these like different games from the past. Like this is all these guys that are running or that were quarterbacks. Like no, just give us the fucking game. Give us a halftime show.
Yes.
Like, that's it.
That's very well put.
Okay.
Exactly.
Alrighty. Well, are you ready to hear about our non-creep?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, let's take a quick break and we will talk about our not a creep this week. Good job, Sonia.
Thank you, friend.
I'm not picking an award show, obviously, because I just shat on a award show for the last 10 minutes.
Yes.
So I decided to pick an event. Do you know about the Invictus Games?
I've heard of them. The name is super familiar.
They are an international, this is from Wikipedia, multi-sport event first held in 2014 for wounded, injured servicemen and men and women, that are both currently serving and veterans. Invictus means unconquered. Basically, it's people that have been wounded in battle and that are still either still serving or are veterans. And this is an international competition. They hold them around the world. It was one of the founding patrons was the Duke of Sussex, which is Prince Harry.
Yes.
He came to America. He served in the military for 15 years, by the way. People forget that when they're trying to.
What? I thought he was just a whiny crybaby.
No, he actually served in the military. That's his brother. He served he served the UK. He served England for 15 years, and he saw the Warrior Games in the US. And that's also the same. It was the same construct. It's just,
Yeah.
It's veterans competing in sports. So he decided to try to make it a bit bigger. And so the first time it was done was in 2014, and it was in London's Copper Box Arena. And they had people competing from all over the world. And they do steeplechases and javelins and all kinds of sports. And these are people who've lost arms and legs and that have had all kinds of injuries in battle and serving their country. It's a really amazing thing to watch, like these people coming away and just showing around the world, just don't be held back by your disabilities, and you can overcome. They're so inspiring.
Yes.
And there's so many ways to help people and rehabilitate people now. Yes, we still need help with PTSD and the mental health issues of our veterans and people serving in combat. Absolutely. He has a little bit of, by the way, they've held the games in London, Orlando, Toronto, Sydney, The Hague. It's happening in Dusseldorf, Germany this September. It's pretty amazing. It's like a week long, and they have different events every day. The press comes from all over the world, and these people just get a chance to be, because a lot of them were athletes when they were younger.
Yeah.
And it kind of
Did they air it on TV? Is it on TV?
Yeah, it's definitely on TV. They had one year where they couldn't do it because of COVID, but for the most part. But he's still the patron of it, and there's amazing people on the board, and I just think it's an amazing event, and it's something like these are people we should be paying attention to. We should be honoring and giving them a space to show off their best selves. And
this is an awesome pick.
So that's my pick this week, the Invictus Games.
Nice.
Nice. All right, my friends, you can find them, by the way, at invictusgamesfoundation.org. That's an organization. That's what real charities should have, by the way. When you're looking up charities, look for the org in their website. We're at the very end, Sonia. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back with a new episode soon. If you like the sound of our voices, and gosh darn it, don't you already just love the sound of our voices?
Duh.
We co-host a show called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies, and then we offer our pop culture picks every once in a while. We'll throw in some of those in there. Sonia, let's talk about our next episode.
Yeah, we're going to talk about The Good Son. It's a thriller that came out, I think, in the early 90s.
93.
And it stars Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin, and our friend, our podcasting brother from another mother, Adam Risky, is joining us from F This Movie. And I already know it's going to be like a bananas conversation. He's texted multiple times his thoughts, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit there. It's Adam Risky from F This Movie. Sorry, our internet's a little wonky today. You can find us. Please send us your suggestions for creeps and also non-creeps. You can send it to all those social media places we mentioned before. We love it when you use the Annie Potts gift. We got one from Ghostbusters. You can also send us your suggestions via email. Once again, that's whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And once again, if you want some stickers, you can send us your address there to that email. We will get them to you wherever you are on the planet of Earth. Don't worry, we will get it to you. What's that movie I'm thinking of? No matter what happens in the end of the world, I'll come get you. That's Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, Last of the Mohicans.
Yes,
No
yes.
matter what occurs, stay alive. I will find you.
Sonia, well, we still have some internet left. Tell them where they
Yes.
can find you.
You can find me at thesoniashow.com. I am also on Twitter and Instagram and the TikTok, all at The Sonia Show. That's where you will find me. Margo, where can they find you?
You can find me at Brooklyn Fitchick for Twitter and Instagram. My site is brooklynfitchick.com. All my information is there. I'm on TikTok at Margo Donahue. In the meantime, y'all, stay safe and don't be a creep.
Creep.